Hey everybody, it's Undead Viking. I'm here with another video review. The board game I'm going to review today is Great Fire of London. For those of you who are up to date on your history classes, I guess, in the year 1666, there was basically a Great Fire of London that burned down most of the city. So it was one of those things where it's a historic event in the past, and it's somebody came along and decided, Richard Denning, I should say, decided to take this historical event and turn it into a board game. It's fairly thematic. It is about the players controlling their wealthy industrialists, merchants, etc., and the Fire of London begins, and they have their houses that they have their interest in, their money invested in, and so on and so forth, scattered about London. And as the fire encroaches upon those spaces, they need to try to make sure that they don't lose their homes, and they don't lose their businesses and lose money, if you will. And so, and then all the players, the game's for 3 to 6 people. All the players have this vested interest in the city. And they need to, try to make sure that not only do they save their own, interests, but they also kind of may want to maybe push the fire towards burning down their opponents, their economic rivals, if you will. And so the game is a nice combination of both, for lack of a better term, it's kind of pandemic-like in the way that you're trying to maintain and control a horrific event. It isn't a disease; it's a fire. But at the same time, you don't want to actually defeat it. You just want to actually just save your own skin and make your opponents wither away and die and have all their money and power burnt to a crisp. So after the fire does eventually get out, you're left as the sole biggest merchant, industrialist, whatever, that's in part of the town. It's a really easy game to play. Setting the game up actually takes a fair amount of time. You'll be able to teach how to play the game while you set up the game to new people, because of the fact that you have to, and I'll show that to you, but you have to actually put out all these thousands and thousands, not thousands, but many wooden bits on this big board to set up the town to begin with. And but once it's set, all the game is playing some cards and moving your action pieces on the board to try to protect your areas, and also maybe put out some fires along the way, because putting out fires earns you victory points, as well as saving your own your own houses, if you will. But I'm kind of getting beyond myself at this point, so let me show you exactly how you play the Great Fire of London, and then I will tell you exactly what I think. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so here is the board for Great Fire of London. I've set it up for a 6-player game. I'm not going to show you how to set up the game because it is very tedious, so I do apologize for that. Basically, each one of these areas on the board will have a number of houses, a little tiny picture of a house. Maybe you can see them here. There's little tiny houses, and that tells you that 4 houses go in that area, whereas in this one, there's 1. And what you do is, for each district, there's the green and kind of the pale orange and the blue and the purple over there. You place 5 of each color into this bag, you shake them up, and then you draw the houses out and you place them in the spots one by one. It takes a fair amount of time as far as setup goes, so I'm not showing you how that is done. But it's always nice, maybe if you have 2 people working on that at once while you set up the rest of the game, then that can get done fairly quickly. The fire starts in pudding lane down here, so you place these cool looking little fire tokens like that, and you place them down there. And then you have extras, because as the fire consumes houses and what have you, you'll be adding more fire. So I just have them in a bowl here. IKEA bowls, you can pick up, if you ever go to IKEA, they have these at the end. You can pick up 6 of these for $2. These are awesome. Anyway, so It's a 6-player game, and so once you determine who the first player is, well, first of all, I should tell you there is something you do prior to that. Before you determine who the first player is, you have these 6 cards, and since it's a 6-player game, you're going to be using all of them. You deal out one of these cards to each person, and so then that tells them what player they're going to be in the game. So blue, green, wood, purple. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not wood. That's red. It's orange, and it's something that kind of bugs me. And I hope with the reprint that's coming out, they actually fix that. Instead of having red houses, they actually have orange houses, apparently. But anyway, so orange, which is red, and then white, which is actually the wood color, and then yellow. And so these are dealt out, and there's actually normally in the normal game, each person knows, everybody knows which side everybody's on, because these are put face up in front of you. There is a variant of the game where this is kept hidden, but I'll touch on that in the conclusion of the video. But once you deal that out, then you will deal out to each person. You'll shuffle these 3 decks of cards. They have a 1, a 2, and a 3 on them. And then you deal each person one of these cards. And each one of these cards, and this is kept secret no matter what version of the game you're playing, each one of these cards has a special spot on the board that needs to be saved. Like this is the artillery ground, and you see there's a 2. It's worth 2 victory points, so this isn't burnt down to the ground. And so you can look on the board, and it actually even shows where it is. There's a little marker there, and actually, like, the artillery ground is up here. And these spots actually do have red name tags to them, if you will. And so, like, that's a one that's worth 2. This is a 2, so this is worth 4 victory points. That'd be the Ald Gate, and you can see that's a little bit closer to the fire because it's right there. And then finally, the ones that are worth 6 victory points are these 3s. And like here you have one, and it's the Royal Exchange, and you can see the Royal Exchange is actually right here on the board. It's really, really close to the fire. So, chances are that's probably going to get burnt to the ground unless you manage to protect it throughout the entire game. So each person gets 1 card of each of these, and those are worth extra victory points at the end of the game, and you don't know which each person has. And those do double up. So there might very well be a couple of people, depending on the number of players. With 6 people, you're guaranteed to double up. But I mean, with less players, you might have a couple of people that want to save the Royal Exchange, or the tower, which is over here, and so on and so forth. So you might end up working with somebody, so you can both get those victory points at the end of the game. After that is done, each person takes their pawn, and they get to place this on the board. When they place it on the board, this is their chance to kind of like look at the board and see where they want to protect, see where they have their interests, if you will, and they take their pawns. And these are important because the pawns are able to actually tell they have the ability to tell the firefighters to actually put out the fires. Firefighters are the containment people. I think they're containment teams. They can just only contain the fires. But if you have one of your pawns with them, you can actually tell them, hey, put out that fire, and they'll put out that fire. But anyway, so I'm just going to scatter these out. I'm not going to really think about it. But you can't put them in the green area. So, these people, will just place their pawns. And normally, it's always wise to kind of keep them close, so, you can use their actions and they can do something for you fairly quickly. These are the containment cones. These are plastic. They work perfectly well. Once again, they can be placed on the board. Each person gets to place 1. With less people, they get to place more than 1. But in this case, with 6 people, each person gets to place 1. They can't go on the green, so we can place 1 there, place 1 here, there. And like I said, I'm not really thinking this out fully. I'm just kind of dropping these so I can show you exactly how that works. So now once all the containment teams are placed and all the pawns are placed, the actual game can start. Depending on whoever the first player is, they're dealt a hand of these 5 fire direction cards. And so we'll say, for the sake of an argument, that we're purple, and we get to go first. So purple goes. And so, purple's in a precarious position. They see that the fire could move over and consume some of their houses over there. So they're going to look at their cards, And each one of these cards, the blue portion goes in the bottom, because that's the river Thames, whatever. And you can see that that's on the bottom as well. So each one of these is a cardinal direction. You see this one's west, north, north, west, and south. So this is the way that the fire will spread. And you get to play one of these cards. So let's move that fire to the west. You take one of these cards. You play west. Okay, the fire's going to move west, you say. Now you take one of these cones out of Pudding Lane, and you get to decide where it's going. Now, if it's going west, obviously, it's going that direction. Now, it's important to note that the fire can spread from anywhere, as long as the last direction it goes is west. So if the fire had spread like up to here, we could take a cone from up here, as long as it isn't the last cone in the spot, and move it all the way down here, and then finally it goes west as the last action. But in this case, since we're just starting out the game, we'll start off here, and, you know, let's say last week, the person who's playing red, my friend, didn't give me a beer when I was at his house, so I'm going to go burn him down. So I move the fire over there. There's nobody there to protect against the fire, so it can't be put out. What happens is this is consumed, and then you place this on the scoring track, like so. And because we've burnt up a house, for every house that you burn, you place another fire. So now you can see the fire can spread from that spot as well. Now, on my turn, now I get to have 4 actions of things I can move I can move either the containment cones, or I can move my own cone. So I want to protect my purple holdings. So I will go 1, 2, and I will move the cone down to protect this particular purple building. And I will move this 3 so I can protect that purple building. Because there's a fire, I've moved that fire closer, but now I've got a firefighter there that can help to stop it. And I'll move this last one 4, like so. And so now I have my cones protecting those particular buildings. Now, obviously, on the subsequent turns, other players are going to be able to move those cones away from there. But for the time being, right now, if a fire cone was to move into that spot, I would be protected. And now it goes on to the next person, and after I play my card, I get to draw a new card. And so here I draw a card that has east, and so now I have my hand of 5, and I go to the next player. Now, I'm not going to show you 5 turns in a row. I'm going to show you how the fires are taken care of and put out. So let's say the games move forward, and somebody decides to move up here. And so, but there's this containment cone here. So what happens immediately is that pawn covers that cone, meaning that fire is contained, and it isn't going to burn down that house. And unless another fire cone gets moved into that spot, everything's going to be just fine. Fire can't spread from that direction, and they can't more fires can't be created there or anything like that. But if on another person's turn, they can, like, say red gets to go, and he's like, oh, well, burn down my place, huh? So they'll move that one in there. At this point now, I don't have enough containment cones to protect that. What happens is then the containment cone is taken off. The 2 fires are going there. And now, because we burned down a building, we place a 3rd fire in there. And now that's gone. Now, let's have the same scenario, and I can show you how you put out a fire. Let's say this particular house got burned down, the yellow. Move that over there. And so then somebody moves, right before my turn, they move a fire there, but then the containment cone protects it. So on purple's turn, they move the fire wherever they're going to move. But then they move, on their turn, they move their particular pawn to that spot, and then they give the order for the containment cone to put out that fire. So what happens is they take this cone, and they just put it in front of them. This will be worth a victory point at the end of the game. So you put that in front of you, you put out a fire, and as an added bonus, whoever's the first person to put out 3 fires in the game gets this card. And it's called You're the Hero of London, and you gain an extra 2 victory points in the game if you're the first person to put out 3 fires. The game continues, and people draw these cards, and this track here will build up with all the burnt down buildings. And I'm going to show you eventually what will happen is you'll draw one of these cards. This is a Fire Spreads card. And what happens is whoever is the last person to draw the card that's on top of this and take that, and they get the Fire Spreads card, they get to spread the fire. Meaning they get to add up to three extra fire cones to one spot on the board, meaning that it's quite possible in the game what'll happen is that you'll have a fire over here, but somebody will move in behind it and they'll cut it off, meaning that fire can't, get over there anymore to build the flames. So you have a situation where then you just have single fire cones over there and they aren't able to really do anything. But with one of these particular cards is that you're able to build the fire in a spot. So you might think they're safe, but you have this card and then you're able to build up the fire in the location, and you get to add up to 3 fire cones to that particular location, as long as it doesn't exceed the number of original houses were in that spot plus 2. So if there was 1 house there, you could have a total of 3 fire tokens. If there's 2 houses there, you'd have 4, and so on and so forth. And then you can add those fire cones to that particular spot. There is one final thing I'm going to show you before I explain who wins the game. You'll notice that in some of these spots, there are these little black discs. If you were the person to burn that block down, you get to take this disc and you get to look at it. And there's 3 different kinds. This one, if you notice, there's a little barrel there. You are allowed, as a free action, to blow up a block. Basically, without any fire on the spot, you get to blow it up and you destroy any buildings that are there. And then it's a total blank block, and so it serves as a fire block because of the fact that there's no fires in there, and so people, to get past that block, they have to actually move into that location with a fire and then move another one into that particular fire. Let me see if I can find the other ones. There's 3 different kinds. That's another one the same. Okay, this one, if you get this, it's just see this little one there. It's just 1 victory point, and the final kind, of course, now it's gonna take forever to find one. Ah, there we go. You can notice there's these 2 little triangles there. That means that you're able to do a fire spreads action twice. So you play this token and you get to move the fire into a location, at whatever your card was played, whether it was north, south, east, or west, and then you get to do it again. So you get to actually, somebody who thinks they're safe for their turn, you can play that token and you can move the fire into their spot, when they didn't know that you'd be able to move that quickly. One other thing before I tell you the scoring, and I doubt you're going to be able to see this, but some of these corners and locations, you'll see a 4-way kind of diagonal facing arrows. And what that means is, in this particular location, there's one that's there, all 4 of these locations. It's a corner spot, meaning that a west direction can go west, or it could go northwest as well, so you can go that way. And if you were here and you had an east, you could go east or northeast, and so on and so forth. So you can actually bridge the gap and cross the street in a northerly or southerly direction instead of just east or west. Or if you're playing north or south card, it can go east or west as well. So that's something to look at, as far as the strategy is concerned as well. Now then, after you get through this entire deck, you draw the last card. What'll happen is that everybody gets one last turn after you get through this deck, and so basically everybody will have 4 cards left because you're unable to draw cards. So everybody's got 4 cards, and after all is said and done, you figure out how many points everybody gets by the number of remaining houses they have. So if you're here, you'd get 24 points, and if you were here, you'd only get 12. You total up the number of fire cones you have, because you get 1 point for each one of those. You total up the number of the bonus buildings that you saved out there, as far as the 6 and the 4 and the 2, the bonus victory point buildings. And you also, if you happen to be the hero of London, you get those 2 points. And it's just a victory point game. Whoever has the most victory points wins the game. So that's how you play Great Fire London. It's really straightforward. You'll be able to teach it fast, and you'll be able to set it up, like I said. So, let me tell you exactly what I think about the game. Alright, so there you go. Great Fire London. What'd you think? Pretty cool, huh? Like I said, it isn't really tough to learn. I mean, after you get the game board set up, it's just each person taking a turn, moving the fire, moving those pawns around, trying to make sure that they, get to the spots they need and maybe protect their own spots and protect, put out fires for some extra points and what have you. So, I mean, the game is really, really straightforward and simple to play. And, but, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's got a lot of depth to it. It's got a lot of things you can do, a lot of different actions you can take, and a lot of different options that you have, just kind of on your turn, where you're trying to figure out what the person before you is going to do, and then how that's going to affect what you're going to do, and and you're moving those firemen back and forth on the board, trying to get them over to where you need them, kind of thing, and so the game has a lot more to it than just what the rules are, which I always love that, the simple but deep games, I touched on the alternative version of playing the alternate of instead of each person knowing which team everybody's on. So you're the green player, you're the blue player, you're the wood player, or whatever. You have a situation where nobody knows, and so each player, knows who they are, but they don't know anybody else, and so that adds a lot to the game, a lot of dimensions, because what it does is it opens up the whole bluffing atmosphere of the game. It opens up a lot of different things where there's a lot of mind think going on, and there's a lot of double bluffing going on, where you might allow some of your own houses to get burned up to throw people off the trail, and so people will think, oh, well, he let those greenhouses burn up, so he must not be green. He must be something else, and all the while you're like, I am green, and so then they leave your houses alone, and so you can go off and be relatively unscathed then, so it has those cool aspects. And then of course then there's the table talk. If you allow table talk, we do at my table for any game, where we allow people to, you say, well, if you help me out here, I'll tell you what color I am. It's like, I'm blue. And it's like, okay, I see your card. Well, no, I'm not going to show you my card. One of those things. So it's like, am I telling the truth? Am I not telling the truth? And so that's something that we have at our table, and it adds a good dimension to the game. Now, whether or not that's something you'll add, that's up to you. Of course, there's no rules in the game, as far as no table talk or table talk's allowed. But that's something that we add to the game, and it makes the game a lot more fun for our group. And I think, in my opinion, that as a family game, for people that playing it straight, everybody knows what every player is. It works really well, because then you can kind of help out. If you have family members that aren't really big gamers, you can help out. No, see, this would be a good move for you to go over here and take out this, and so you can kind of play a friendly game at that point. However, a gamer's game, I think you need to have that secret team situation, because it makes the game a lot more tense and a lot more interesting, as far as each turn. And the other thing is that if you don't play with that, in gamer's game, you'll end up, everybody will just pick on the leader. You'll figure out, it's like, well, that guy's only lost 2 houses. We need to just destroy him, or else none of us are going to win. And so, the poor yellow player who's been doing okay for a while, all of a sudden now everybody's just, moving the fire towards his stuff, and that guy's pissed, because, come on, play the game. You can't talk, you can't gang up on me, that thing. So, you avoid that particular scenario, and the game can actually be a lot more fun for everybody that's involved. The game clocks in right around an hour, maybe a little bit more with more players. So it is fairly quick, and like I said, it's a nice theme. I like the whole historical theme. I like the idea. I like the board. I like the colors. I like the pieces. There's just a lot to like about the game. Detractions from the game might be a little bit too much luck oriented, because of the fact that you have cards. And so if you get a bad hand of cards, there's no way for you to really replace them. Unlike other games where it's like you can, discard 5 cards and draw 5 new ones or whatever, you don't really have that option at all in this game, due to the fact that the cards are the timing for the game. As you draw those cards out of that deck, eventually you'll reach the end, and that's the end of the game. So there's no real way to discard 2 and draw 1 or anything like that. Which, if you have a situation where, all of your houses, or the vast majority of the houses you have, are to your east and to the north, and all you're looking in your hand are east and north cards, you're just like, well, this sucks, because I gotta push the fire towards my own things, and so, that's part of the game that I think it kind of detracts a little bit, because, you have that option. I can see a lot of people that don't like luck in games. I can see where a lot of people have a problem with that particular game. It's I'm kind of nitpicking at that point. I mean, that really isn't a huge problem, but it is out there, and I've had a few players when they played the game, mention that that really annoyed them. I don't think the game plays as well with 3 or 4 people as it does with 5 or 6. And in fact, if you're actually going to play with the variant that's the the secret teams, I think 5 players is perfect, because that means there's one color that nobody owns, and so you can be sitting there burning down a bunch of purple buildings, and you think you're doing really well, and you're like, well, who's purple? I mean, why isn't this guy even trying to save his stuff? You know, and so all of a sudden you realize that you've been doing all this effort to just take it to this one color, and it's all been for naught. You've been wasting your turns because it doesn't do any good for you. So, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, 6 is still fun, but I mean, with 5, you have that lingering doubt in the back of your head saying, I'm really not doing anything, even though I'm not doing anything to anybody, you know? And that's where the game is fun. It's fun to burn down somebody else's stuff. I mean, that's, you know, and watch them just, you know, after you've made some sort of deal or whatever, you're like, okay, you go over here and I won't touch your stuff, and you go over here and we'll work together against that guy or whatever, to, like, backstab that guy, and I always like that, you know. And if you've watched these videos, you know that my group is a big fan of screwage games and backstabbing games and things like that. So, you know, and you know, and if you have sensitive people in your group, maybe that is something you don't want to do, because then they'll get upset and be really mad that you broke your promise or whatever. But at our table, it's pretty much anything goes. So, you know, there you go. Great Fire London. Right now, it's kind of tough to get a hold of. You can only really find it at Boards and Bits, and they're running out of copies. It came out in Essen last year, and then it just vanished due to the fact that there was a huge shipping issue, and I don't even know the whole story. I mean, I remember hearing all kinds of fantastic tales about it getting lost in warehouses and dock managers having heart attacks, or or other serious illnesses, and so things didn't get sent, and it's just crazy stuff like that. But eventually, you know, the copies made it over, and people that were waiting for it, you know, got their copies. And I do know that, like I said, there's a few lingering copies out there, but there aren't many. But there is a Kickstarter program out there for it right now. It's getting reprinted by the same people that did Tammany Hall. So, Pandasaurus Games. So, I mean, you can check out that Kickstarter link, and I know that they're adding, like, some new components and what have you to kind of make the game a little prettier and a little better. So maybe that's something you want to check out, and you can definitely go and do that. Other than that, if you have any questions or ideas or concerns about Great Fire of London or anything else about this review, by all means, post them either on YouTube or Board Game Geek or what have you. Seriously, I respond to the ones at Board Game Geek a lot quicker than anywhere else. So if you have a real pertinent question, I would strongly suggest going there and posting it. But if it's on YouTube or somewhere else, I promise I'll try to get to it eventually. But other than that, that's Great Fire of London. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and as always, you have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you soon.